I want to start today, if I might, and again, I apologize for the importance of this project. I'd like to just get some things out for the record or anybody who might be listening. But actually with the town board, a town board which, by the way,
really the heart of the venue, 1,000 square foot media plane that canvases the entire venue. On that display plane, 250 million pixels, which will be displaying 100 times greater than standard HD televisions, will be the technology and the image resolution. It'll be accomplished with 140 laser-based projection units that are located in this entire area. In terms of video capture, we're looking at a first-of-a-kind video capture system, a spherical video content capture, which will be capturing video at 40K resolution at over 360 degrees. This will be utilized to create video for the interior as well as the exterior of the venue. And as we move forward with augmented reality and virtual reality technologies, these video capture systems will be utilizing AR and VR to create connected audience. Traditional venues have a very unevenly distributed sound experience. And what we're driving for here, and what MSG has been pushing for from the start, is what's called a beam-forming technology, which projects sound at constant sound pressure levels to almost every seat in the house. And in some cases, you could be listening in one other language on the other side of the house. So we're talking about a next-generation audio experience in terms of the acoustics and the quality. Acoustics, along with video, is what we call the immersive environment. And in today's digital age, we're going to see more and more of this. So this building will be the first of its kind to leverage this kind of technology and not only connect people within the audience, but connect people to other MSG projects around the world utilizing the same technology. In order to enable this to happen, we have an ultra-dense connectivity network made up of 800 miles of fiber optic cable, enough to line New York to Shivity. This is the backbone, the architecture that will enable all of the high density information to travel and also connect the audience, the spectator, to the live event. And in some cases, participate in that event, interacting with AR and VR experiences. Chris?
Thank you. What I want to show you now, with very briefly, just in 3 different boards, is the exterior of the site. Now, we've all heard about, and I will show you the sphere. This is actually what is before you today for approval. And I think when you see the sphere, you'll obviously believe that that's kind of a little more exciting presentation. This is still a very beautiful building. The reason that we're moving forward with this particular building is because this building has FAA approval already, and we need to get in the ground. And so consequently, the sphere I'm going to show you is going to require FAA approval because of its height at 360 feet. That's a process that can take 3-4 months or more. So we are asking for the approval of this particular building here. Now, I do want to show you, just so you have an idea, we have a couple of boards that show you how the outside of this will look as well. And I'd like Jonathan to comment, if he could, on this board, and then I have an evening presentation board that says the same thing. So Jonathan.
One of the exciting aspects of the building, both inside and out, is that these large surfaces, whether it's the media plane inside the main theater or the exterior of the building, are truly digital canvases. So when we think about building materials in next generation architecture, light, image, projection, visibility, immersive content is now, in our minds, a building material. And so we're utilizing the exterior to create an immersive experience on the approach of the building, whether you're coming over the pedestrian bridge or approaching from the east as well. And at night, you can imagine this digital canvas will be utilized by artists, brands, partners alike.
Okay, now here is what you have seen presented. Here is ultimately what we are going to be filing a new design review for. And so this is not before you now, but I wanted to show you this. I didn't want there to be a misrepresentation as to what actually we would be moving forward on. As I say, because of the height of this, we need to have FAA approval. Now, it's important to note, very important to note, that the changes relate to the exterior of the building only, essentially the top, if you will, of the building. Everything else is the same. The number of seats are the same. The interior is essentially the same. Obviously, the ceiling has a different feel to it. The parking is the same. Ingress and egress is the same. Everything is the same except for that exterior. And again, we are simply moving forward with this because this, the one before you now, has FAA approval. FAA moves at its own speed, and this one could take many, many months. We want to get this up and going, and in order to do that, we have to do this in a bifurcated way. Now, I don't think I'm overstepping my bounds when I say that we've worked with Ms. Edmondson and her staff with regard to this bifurcated system that we're doing here, and staff understands and appreciates and has been very supportive in how we can get here to do this. Speaking of Mrs. Edmondson, this is the time. I usually save this for the end, but since we're about ready to go into something different, if it were not for Ms. Edmondson and her staff, while the interests of Clark County are always paramount to her, she has worked diligently and her staff has worked diligently to make this as smooth a process and as comfortable a process, and she has the respect of Madison Square Garden and the Sands for all that she has done. So we're very appreciative of that. We're also appreciative of Eric Denman, Public Works, and his working with us, and we know that we'll be working together. Now, that brings us very quickly to the waiver that is before you today. We are asking the waiver of 13.82% because it covers 3 projects that the Venetian presently has on the front burner. Those 3 projects are this particular MSG project, the Tau Beach Club, and the completion of the tower. The 13.82% that we're requesting today covers those 3 projects, but staff has made it crystal clear, and both Madison Square Garden and Sands understands that these waivers, this waiver of 13.8 covers those 3 projects, and should one of those projects fall away, a percentage relating to that project would similarly fall away. In other words, the Sands would not be able to utilize that waiver percentage for something else without coming in and asking staff for it. And staff was very clear on that, and we absolutely accept that. Also, I want to mention that we are continuing to work with other property owners off-site to see if there is additional parking, just because it's always nice to have more parking than you may need. So we very much appreciate all staff's conditions. We accept those, and we very much respectfully ask for your approval of this project, subject to the 13.82% waiver, subject to the conditions as read by staff. And again, Mr. Chairman, I apologize for being not as succinct as my partners were.
Sure, they'll work with you on that phase of your presentation, Mr. Grunow or Ms. Lazarus up there. I'm just kidding, no. This is a public hearing. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. Items are 16 and 17. Anyone wish to address the board on either or both of those items, please step forward, identify yourself for the record. Anybody just come on down. Got one.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Howard Karsh. I live at 5620 West Patrick. I didn't come here for this. I came here for something else on the agenda. I used to be an auditorium manager. I ran an 1,800-seat auditorium in Texas. This is a wonderful project. I love everything about it. The thing that strikes me that I'm a little concerned about, and all of us in the entertainment industry, I was a member of the International Association of Assembly Managers.
Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing, turn it over to Commissioner Giancoliani.
Thank you. Why don't you put the other map back up, Chris, and show the other ingresses and egresses that are on that. It's not just the pedestrian bridge, so that people understand.
Oh, yeah.
So all parking will be at the Venetian itself, correct?
parking is here, plus there's 304 spaces there. But anyway, Jonathan, go ahead.
And Jonathan, speak to the staging too, so where they're going to, when people come in to set up within the facility itself.
Sure. Similar to any venue that's being constructed at this scale and scope, we have to abide by the building codes. Right? So all of our egresses are met through 4 central cores that are sized according to the venue capacity in its max capacity. To Chris's point before, the pedestrian bridge over the course of its length has multiple entrances and exits, all abiding by the building code. Also, to Chris's point, we've met with the fire department in terms of fire access lanes, as well as studied all of the ingress capacities on both the east and west sides. Not only from a safety perspective, but both from ingress and egress, the ownership into the building. So we're actually over-servicing the building code.
Because you'll have people coming into that roadway, correct?
Yes, we'll have people coming in right off Sands. So this is a drop-off lane, as well as coming in off of Sands Avenue right here. So this is a 4-lane entrance.
Okay.
And to this much roadway coming in and approaching the building in Vegas.
And then on Sands Avenue, because you got those in, we may need to make sure that Public Works has enough of a radius to come in, because it's very narrow right now to get onto.
Yes, and we're studying that with Public Works now.
And then, what are the intended construction hours? I do have residential condos right next door, or actually on the other side of Manhattan, that have been there for 50 years. And then you've got the other, I think they're time shares to the south of the property.
I don't think we have the actual construction hours pinned down. That would be something I think we would have to come back to.
If you would take a look at that, and then Chris, you might need to talk with some of the, because I don't want to, if Park Towers is affected, let's talk to them. If Meridian, whatever we need to do. But there's also the small family condos that have been there forever off of Manhattan that's tucked in, and people don't even realize that they're there. So I just want to make sure that they're not negatively impacted as best as we can.
Absolutely, and I do want to say, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, if I could, that the except for those times where you need a pour, and sometimes you know that those pours have what the county hours provide in terms of construction. We will, or want them to go over. We'll work with all of our neighbors to make sure everybody knows what's going on.
Right.
They'll want to see this up and
exactly.
operating.
I want the project going forward, but I also have to be respectful of the residential component that's in that nearby corridor, and I don't know it's enough on the out. The audio will be contained within, correct, the sphere itself.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Sorry, John.
No, I was just going to say the acoustic properties are managing sound both inward and outward.
Okay. And the lighting too, let's make sure, but everybody's been really good at even on we've been dealing with it in some other residential areas, just to be respectful. I love the new design. I think it's actually very, very exciting, so congratulations on that. But my understanding is just to make it very clear that we're going with the FAA approval to at least let you get your groundwork done, your dewatering, all that part of it while you're anticipating the FAA. So it will be the sphere, just for the folks understanding that part of it. And I want to commend the folks from Madison Square Garden. I don't want to use MSG because I don't want somebody to really think it's Asian cooking. But you've been very, very good to work with. And just want to say thank you for bringing this dynamic piece to us, and as well as the Venetian. So my motion, Mr. Chair, would be to approve both items with the understanding that they will come back with the FAA component. They'll work on construction hours, and then per staff approval, and all that Nancy read into the record. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
We have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Giuliani. I've got some comments. Commissioner Gibson, and then Commissioner Weekly, and then Commissioner Brown.
I wonder if you could show us, you showed us a building that doesn't have 90-degree angles on it. Where does the sphere sit on top of that building? I mean, have you designed that already, or is that not yet?
The very same location. And that was so we could move forward with our site plan and working with all of the codes and regulations that we had already addressed. Well, the question is it 360 degrees? Yes, it is 360 degrees.
And is the display available all the way around or only on the main thoroughfares?
It will be available all the way around. However, we're still studying where we may densify the technology in certain zones.
I love the sphere. I love that. When Ms. Kemp and Mr. Brown first showed me the picture. Kind of reminds me of the T-Mobile Arena.
We're still studying the actual photometrics and the light and luminosity as that you mentioned before. All of these and the residences will take this into consideration in terms of the luminosity and the brilliance coming off of it.
Commissioner, to answer your question, as you can see, Las Vegas Boulevard is to the west of this, where the traffic would be of concern. There is traffic on Sands, obviously, but it's nothing like the traffic that would be on Las Vegas Boulevard.
I see. Okay, thank you. And then one of my final questions, Mr. Chair, something that you always ask. The employment opportunities, the jobs. Give us a maybe a kind of forecast of what we can expect as it relates to future employment with a project of this magnitude.
Thousands and thousands of construction jobs, which we understand that provided we have the people to service it, and this is such a wonderful problem we find ourselves in now, is that, we need workers, and we understand that they can come from any place all over the country as long as their cars have a Nevada license plate. But so
no. It isn't quite the deal, but we'll get to.
No, the point is, we understand we want to give people, obviously, from Nevada, and we've also pledged to Commissioner Giuliani that we would have outreach programs for those people in the area for employment as well, and then permanent employment jobs, hundreds and hundreds of permanent employment jobs. And our desire is always to serve first the community and then the city. And
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I know that this is going to be something that we're going to be able to leave a great legacy behind, but I think what's most important at this time is that we have to work with the industry out there to train and get more people qualified to be able to participate and be able to take advantage of all of these wonderful projects that's before us. I think it's pretty scary to know that we don't have enough workers that are trained to be able to help build these beautiful facilities that's coming before us yet, let alone the training to be able to work in them. And so we have a lot of work to do, and I'd say congratulations, hats off to the Sands for having a vision of bringing something so iconic and historic. Just based on, after I met with you guys, doing a little research, dating all the way back to 1869, I believe, Madison Square Gardens came on board, and I'm just thinking that I believe we're probably going to make the borough of New York a little jealous here, because we're going to take a lot of. I'm almost thinking we don't need their hockey team, but Las Vegas Knicks doesn't sound bad. How about that? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, there you go, Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. The question, Chris, if you would pull up the one that has the walkway, that board, and to Chris or Jonathan.
this one.
Are you well, there's another one, a kind of an overview. Are you able to talk about the update on a potential monorail stop?
We are fully on board with a monorail stop. They just have to tell us where. I mean, I think we have a different feeling over there, but the point is,
fine, but
the monorail wants to come. We're going to provide them with the station either on Koval or on Sands, however they want. But somebody has to say they want it, and somebody has to, we don't direct that. So.
I'll respect my colleague's opinion, but just from a convention visitor mobility standpoint, a potential site somewhere on this map would not impact what we're reviewing today? No. I mean, obviously, a station on Sands, when you're front on Sands, has more of an impact than a station on a side street. But if that's where it needs to go or should go or works best there, then we'll accept whatever decision is made by those who make that decision. We just want to be part of the process, not get in the way of it.
We've studied multiple locations and have flexibility and potential connections. Sorry?
Or for light rail or some future tech.
Floor.
I do actually now. Make sure that as you look at your the traffic flow, regardless of who comes in as a potential station down the road, because of the Koval side, we also have the same restrictions, if not more, trying to turn into Venetian for their back of the house, get into Harrah's, and then the employees to get in. So we're going to have to look trying to get into the Wynn. On the signage, make sure it's not something, I don't want to see what you have on Walgreens on Las Vegas Boulevard in Harmon. It just is, I think it detracts from the beauty of what you're trying to put together. So hopefully you'll look at that a little bit differently, but that'll come back as a sign package in the future anyway. So, okay, thank you.
We have a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All of you, thank you very much, and proud to be part of this. Thank you.
Next are items 19 and 20, which can be heard together. UC 171119, use permit to allow a temporary gravel pit, waivers of development standards for the following: landscape and screening requirements, waive design standards, and waive full offsite improvements, partial paving, curb, gutter, sidewalk, and streetlights along the new Route A alignment. Design reviews for the following: a proposed freight terminal with ancillary uses, including offices, temporary gravel pit on 10 acres, and an M1 light manufacturing zone. WC 18400001, NZC 81315, waivers of conditions of a nonconforming zone boundary amendment for the following: applicant to pay for and prepare 2 right-of-way grants for Clark County to submit to the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, as depicted on the provided exhibit submitted to the Board of County Commissioners. If BLM approves the right-of-way grant for the proposed road described as Route A, the applicant will construct this road. If BLM approves the right-of-way grant for both roads labeled as Route A and Route B, the applicant will only construct Route A and will not be under any obligation to construct or pay any fees for Route B. However, if BLM only approves a right-of-way grant for Route B, the applicant will construct this road to gain access to the site. The applicant will work with Public Works to ensure that paving within the road for Route B or other route as approved by BLM is as far west as allowed within the right-of-way grant to minimize proximity to the 2 existing residential homes while maintaining access to the residential development, and the applicant understands the preferred route is Route A. And number 2 is a right-of-way dedication to include a cul-de-sac at the proposed north end of Cameron Street in conjunction with an approved freight terminal facility on 10 acres in the M1 light manufacturing zone, generally located 550 feet east of Decatur Boulevard alignment, 300 feet north of Rourke Avenue alignment within Sloan. There's no town board for this item.
Good morning, Ms. Lazovich.
Good morning, Jennifer Lazovich, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive, here today representing the applicant. As you can see on the overhead, the site is located in an area that has been master planned for industrial. We were before this board approximately a year ago to get a project approved for a freight terminal, and at that time we agreed to conditions on access to the site. The site on this map is colored in purple, and the blue and red locations right here depicted access route number A, or route letter A, and then access route B. The neighbors, there are some existing residential neighbors who live in this community right here, had a lot of concerns about using Cameron Street for primary access to the project. At the time, we were concerned that we wouldn't be able to get BLM approvals to cross this land, which is in red. So that's the reason why you have that condition, which we are back before you to waive, which gave us the option to either use this area right here to access the site or to come. At the time, the property owner worked closely with Clark County and the BLM, and there is some space on the north side of our site right off of Decatur, which allows for access to our site from the north. So we no longer have to utilize either Route A or Route B. So part of the application today removes the conditions that would have required that. It gets rid of requirements for any kind of dedication on Cameron. Really, quite frankly, does, and that the neighbors had, that we would ever use Cameron at all. So no.
The next thing I was going to ask is about the dust. They're going to have a gravel pit to make, to be able to work their land and stuff. But as a resident out there who was there last week, the southern winds that come up Las Vegas, but they go through Sloan first where they funnel in, and that is some very heavy wind that we typically get winds that are 10 to 15 miles an hour more than what they would report on the morning news. And so the desk, if you look at those batch plants, find ourselves that is, instead of looking at a beautiful sunset, we're looking at batch plants. And so that would be my point.
Thank you very much for your comments. Yes, sir.
My name is Robert Reed. I live at 4484 Ray Way, Sloan, Nevada. I'm opposed to the freight depot. As you can see, this is Rourke Estates. And what we didn't know until we went to this last meeting was that these trucks and forklifts are going to be operating 24/7. Our community is made up of over 50% retired people. Property values are going to go down with all the noise, and I'm hoping that this would be the preferable entrance and exit to this, but I would hope that the hours of operations would be limited and would stop at 10 o'clock at night and not go back into operation until 6 in the morning. My wife and I bought our place 11 years ago. Market crashed. I only see property values going down. So I'm hoping that something can be resolved as far as hours of operation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Steve Sandall. My address is 4569 Rourke Avenue. And I oppose the depot going in. I'm concerned about the traffic, some of the other things that have been mentioned already, the noise. I'm also concerned about the light pollution at night. I moved out there to kind of get away from everything for the rural value, and you know, I would rather there wasn't this industrial operation going on right across from my property. You know, right now as things are, I have a view of the mountain and, you know, the tracks going by. I kind of like that. That's one of the reasons I bought the property, and so I'm a little concerned about this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Senator Brager.
Okay, thank you very much. This actual project was approved before. These are actually better changes, and sometimes some of those better changes will make a good difference. And as far as air quality, I'll address a few things. Our air quality department monitors everything. And if you see that there are, on those windy days, that active dust and they're not watering or doing whatever, not watering, but whatever it might be to mitigate that, then if you would call in, and I don't have that number directly on me right this minute, Megan will get that for you. And she has worked really hard on this project. In regards to the road that you spoke about, sir, we're working with Public Works, BLM, and NDOT, and we know it's a big issue to tackle, but we're not going to give up on that to make sure what they can do to minimize any of those factors. I'm going to call the last, which keeps everything as far away from you as we possibly can, so I really appreciate that.
You know, towards their houses and impact them.
That would be part of the record, is Route C, light pollution, air quality, letting them know what's happening on those days that create some of that havoc. We have that here in town also. So that would be the dust control. And then the no curb and no shoulder has kind of been like that forever, but we can see as Megan, who's been to the meetings for me, has worked on that, will continue to work on that. Basically what we were here today for was that road alignment, to make that as good as we could and as far away as we possibly can. So we've accomplished that, which I think is really important. So I am prepared to make a motion to, to accept Route C the downcast lighting, the air quality, making sure that they know on those days to work with you as much as they can. For my office to continue working on with the Public Works, NDOT, and it's amazing because it's different entities of the government that works with us on that. So we have three different entities that we work with on that. We'll continue to work on that. And as the project has already been approved, there's not a lot I can do on anything else at this time. But anything that you can share with us or call the office would be helpful, especially on those days of wind. And Ms. Lazovich, if you could let them know that whatever they need to do on those days, we send out warnings and we send out information when we know the wind is kicking up around the valley, so that all those sites that need to be in compliance. And so we'll make sure that they're given extra notice out there in that area of what they need to do. So that would be my motion for, go ahead. Yeah, Chris.
We have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Brager. Any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Giuliani.
Thank you. Just so
people, even ourselves, when things are happening, so that's how they do that. That's why your eyes are going to be important.
out a little bit as well as kind of knocking that down before it even becomes a problem. And then is there a review of the hours? Just make sure it's not having a negative impact, or what batch plans? I don't even know what the hours
staff had recommended 6 months to review as a public hearing for the gravel pit, and then hours of operation for the gravel pit to be 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. That was that's what we recommended for the gravel pit.
And that's what, thanks. Does that help the gentleman? Because they'd suggested some changes. Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioner questions? Seeing none, please cast your votes. That motion was from Commissioner Brager. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to the neighbors.
Items 21, 22, and 23 can be heard together. Item 21, BS 170206, holdover amended vacate and abandon easements of interest to Clark County located between Richmore Avenue and Gary Avenue and between Rainbow Boulevard and Montessori Street alignment, and a portion of the right-of-way being Gary.
Excuse me, Nancy, if I could. Go ahead.
Can I just give them the air quality? Before you leave, if you want that air quality phone number, it really is 702-385-DUST, which is 3878. You're welcome.
I'm sorry, Nancy, if they were leaving. I interrupted you. I apologize.
We'll start again.
Okay.
BS 170206, holdover amended vacate and abandon easements of interest to Clark County located between Richmore Avenue and Gary Avenue and between Rainbow Boulevard and Montessori Street alignment, and a portion of the right-of-way being Gary Avenue alignment located between Rainbow Boulevard and Montessori Street alignment, and a portion of the right-of-way being Rosanna Street alignment located between Richmore Avenue and Gary Avenue no longer needed within Enterprise. WS 17-0204, holdover amended waiver of development standards to reduce lot area, which is no longer needed. Design reviews for the following: proposed single-family residential development, increased finished grade on 7.5 acres in an RE Rural Estates Residential RMP1 zone, generally located on the south side of Richmore Avenue, 250 feet west of Rainbow Boulevard within Enterprise. TM 17500041, holdover amended tentative map consisting of 13 previously 14 single-family residential lots on 7.5 acres in an RE Rural Estates Residential RMP1 zone. The Enterprise Town Board recommended approval.
Good morning.
Good morning, Liz Delk, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. First and foremost, thank you, Commissioner Brager, and to the neighbors for working with us for so long. This has been in the works again since early last year. Our project is approximately 7 acres located along Richmond, just east of Rainbow here. We are in the RE and RMP area. Our original plan showed 14 lots with Rosanna vacated. Per the request of both staff and the neighbors, we are now dedicating Rosanna to go through the development. We are now requesting a design review for a 13-lot subdivision. We meet all RE standards, two-story, requesting 2 last sewer hookup. Due to the topography of this site and the shallowness of the existing sewer, there are, 7 lots, 5 and then 8 through 13 that are not able, existing home here, which is Diane's residence. Otherwise, staff is recommending approval. Again, we are very appreciative of the neighbors who's been so willing to work with us on this, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does that complete your presentation?
Yes.
Good. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing on items number 21, 22, and 23. 21, 22, and 23. Anyone wishing to address the board on any or all of those items, please step forward, identify yourself for the record. Comments be limited to 3 minutes. Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing on 21, 22, and 23 and turn over to Commissioner
I'll
Brager.
make a couple comments, and then I think Commissioner Kirkpatrick has a question, Commissioner Sisolak. I would like to put into the record the height factor. I do know that 9, 10, and 11 are 1 to 2.5 feet differential lower than the property across the street. So it's not a true, what I like about this, and I want to make sure this is on the record, it is not a true 2-story home. It does have a second factor there, but the height the height that we discussed, Liz, if you'd put that on the record, I would really appreciate that. As to the homes, we know we have a chimney factor that we're looking into that could be at 28 feet, but that's just the chimney, not anything else. And I think you have your gentleman in the audience that could verify that height factor was 20. Were we at 22 in some cases and 24, where we have the height differential, 24 being the maximum?
So we're at 24.6 here to the top of the elevation here on the 2-story. And then it goes up just for the chimney to 28.
And because it's electric, you were going to check with Health District or what code is, because I don't know what that code is for that. I didn't get a chance to check on. If it needed to be 28, I've spoken with the neighbors that having that one piece at 28 is not a problem. So I would like for the record that we have the disclosure on the septic, that we've made very clear that in the future, if there was a septic failure, that they could have the possibility of not correcting it, but going on sewer. And every owner, anyone that was going to buy any of those lots would need to know that, and they would need to sign that. So we need a separate page signature document that I would like turned in for our records. If this does not take place between now and December, I want to make sure that there's a good record that moves forward with this. The 24.6-foot height, where single stories can go up to 35, so I appreciate that even the 2 stories would be at that height factor. Also, the 1 stories on the lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then the differential in height of the 2 that will more than likely be 2 stories are abutting the storage facility, where there is a 6-foot differential there, but they're at the back of the project. All of that will comply with what we discussed with the neighbors. And I have to say, this group of neighbors, and I've probably been out there, I don't know, 8 or 10 or 12 times through the years, and they are so fantastic. They are polite, they are kind, they send messages that are worthy of always worthy of looking at that. I can wait for a motion, or
I forgot one thing. We need to withdraw our vacation request. Since
oh
it's
yes,
no longer
because we
needed.
are having Rosanna go through.
No, you can go ahead and make a motion.
Okay. My motion,
then we'll
pretty
take
much I had said at the disclosure on the septics, making sure that the buyer is signing it, turning it in to us, and that they know that there could be an expense in the future, that they're going to be able to plot. That's what I want to be. They're able to plot their lot so that they can maximize because of leach fields, trees, all of that I believe was in that. If it's not in that disclosure, I need that added. On the tree components, concrete, swimming pools, anything they might want to do, there's factors that apply for that. And Roseanne, Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear, because it got said a few different ways. They're only removing the portion of the vacation as it relates to Rosanna. The rest of their vacation remains.
That we've already had before.
Right. They have
Correct.
the piece of Gary and some easements.
Exactly. Okay. That would be the motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Brager. Discussion, Commissioner Kirkpatrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, and so that's why I'm asking that if you call me, we can get you into the health district first, so that hurdle is already out of the way. And if, as we're going to change the regs with the Department of Environmental Protection at the state, we can address anything that we need. Because I think that my people weren't using them. So that's all. I was just trying to get you out front, as opposed to finding out at the end that it didn't pencil.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Kirkpatrick is on the health board, so that's why her information is so, chair of the health board. So that really helps us a lot on a lot of the health issues, because we all sit on different boards. So that was something that I believe that we knew could be an obstacle in this whole project. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please cast your votes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next are items 24 and 25, which can be heard together via 171102, vacate and abandon easements of interest to Clark County located between